my fellow aviators and my beloved mechanics. Welcome to another video in the series of Hartzell Propellers, Teflon props. We don't stand by you. So in this one, in the other two series of this series, you saw me write an article and send it to Hartzell Propellers about the left propeller showing no damage, which indicated to me as a pilot and a mechanic that engine was not running when it hit the ground in the 2019 Hawaii crash, which took the life of one of my students and my friends, Captain Jerome Rennick. It also claimed the lives of 10 skydivers who were just enjoying their vacation holiday doing something exciting. The NTSB decided to politicize this report and to falsify it and to make the claim that Captain Jerome Rennick did not lose the left engine, but rather was a reckless pilot who stalled the airplane, flipped it on its back, and crashed and killed everybody. Then the NTSB, not to be outdone, and here you can see a picture of the NTSB facing the constant dilemma that they have when they show up on an accident scene. Yeah. So anyways, they decided to add insult to injury and claim that I, being the flight instructor that trained Jerome Rennick, was somehow a bad flight instructor, and that due to flight instruction given years prior to the accident, I was somehow responsible for the death of those 11 people. Now this is pretty horrifying, and it's on the NTSB's part, it's just stupid. Yeah, that's all it is. But anyways, with Hartzell Propeller, when I first went out to talk to them, well, I called up Mr. Les Dowd on the telephone to kind of talk to him, see if I could interview him. At that time, he told me that they had no dealings with the accident report at all. They didn't have any reports, they didn't have any files, they did no analysis, and that this was completely done by the NTSB personnel, and that is standard practice on all major accidents. See, our aircraft manufacturers are experts in the field. Well, they can add guidance, but they're not writing the reports. They're not the ones claiming what actually happened. It's some government bureaucrat. And in this case, a retired airline pilot who's not a mechanic, hadn't dealt with a propeller-driven aircraft in decades probably, and then all of a sudden he's writing the accident report for whoever told him to make up the conclusion to that report. He had that before he even landed on the ground in Hawaii. So with that being said, when I first went to Hartzell, they're such sweet people. They are salt of the earth people. And when I showed up, they were like, well, Mr. Les Dowd's busy. I said, yeah, I imagine he is, but, I'll stay here until he has time to talk to me. And they said, well, that might not be today. And I said, I don't care. I'll stay here a month. I'm retired. Your couch is awfully comfortable. So there I sat for hours. And then finally, Mr. Les Dowd and his supervisor came out to talk to me. And to be honest, this was the first time Mr. Les Dowd even read the report. He sat down, and then he started to proceed to tell me that, no, he wrote the whole report, and that he stand by it. And his supervisor there for Hartzell Propellers, nodded his head. He wasn't a mechanic. He doesn't work on propellers, just a management guy. But a sweet guy, salt of the earth people. And as Mr. Les Dowd was telling me this, I was looking over his back and looking at the FAA certification for Part 145 repair facility. And this is Hartzell Propellers' whole business license. If that's taken away, they are ruined overnight. So with that being said, I glanced back over to look at the supervisor and Les Dowd, and it reminded me of a movie scene. Yep, that's it. That's the one. So anyways, Les Dowd kept going on about how this propeller was running at full power. It was not feathered, and that they just sometimes do that. Of course, Mr. Lestad was just trying to save his job, save the company. You know, he's got a red funny thing in his mouth after all. I mean, what are we going to do? And if he tells the truth, yeah, let's move on. We're moving on. So anyways, I left there and then I started reading the report more. And lo and behold, in this report, it's hidden very well, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Just like the last couple scenes I just showed you. You will never get those out of your mind. Pulp Fiction was such a great movie. Anyways, so now in the report, not only do we have witnesses at the scene of the accident saying that they heard Captain Jerome Rennick feather that propeller, but then at the scene of the accident, we see the propeller being recovered from the crash scene in the feathered position. Then, when this propeller gets to Hartzell Propellers for analysis, it's in the feathered position. Then, during analysis, a miracle occurs. A miracle. The propeller is no longer feathered. That's not even mentioned. In fact, who's ever doing this report, and I think it was Captain David Lawrence, because it's just so stupid. It's something an airline guy would say. No offense to you airline guys. Let's move on. So, now they're taking the readings from the tip of the propeller to prove that it was running at full power. Why are you doing that? You have the whole undamaged propeller there. Why are you using the tips of the blade? So anyways, the report goes on with gibberish that, gibberish this, and telling us that the propeller was really running at full power, even though the tips of the blades were not damaged at all after impacting the ground under full power with the PT-6 engine. That's amazing. So then, we go on to read with the instruments, that under there we find out that the left propeller tachometer was running at 700 RPMs at the time of impact. 700 RPMs is barely idle. And this is the indication that we would see on a propeller when we first initially feather it. That propeller on that King Air weighs hundreds of pounds. It has a lot of inertia. So when we first feather it, it's going to drop down to around 700 until it slowly finally gets into full feather and stops rotating on its own. From feathering that engine to impacting the ground were just mere seconds. So even in the report, you can see that when the propeller arrived at Hartzell Propeller, not even just one of the blades, I think, was in full feather. The others were still moving towards it. So that's consistent with Captain Jerome feathering the engine. Now, this was really deceitful because, as many of you are watching, you're not multi-engine rated pilots. Very few of us are. So they were counting on you just not knowing. So anybody that has even a multi-engine rating at the private pilot level knows that a feathered propeller is only done by the pilot in flight in the event of engine failure. You identify, you verify, and you feather that propeller. That's exactly what Captain Jerome Rennick did. So relying on most of us not knowing, they take huge advantages of us. So with that being said, I would like to ask Hartzell Propeller to redo the analysis on the propeller and give us a fair and honest evaluation of that left propeller. I want to ask such questions such as, how can a feathered propeller be producing full power? It can't. How come on this propeller it was so damaged, so undamaged, if it was running under full power, impacting the ground with the turbine engine running behind it? It can't, it'd be torn to bits. Then we'd like to ask is, how come the governor is set at 2,000 RPMs on the primary governor? 2,000 RPMs red line. You can see that on the cockpit instruments. Then in the report, we're told that propeller is running at 2,540 RPMs. Well, the maximum continuous RPM on that propeller is only 2,200 RPMs, and that's what the overspeed governor would have been set to. How can the pilot override these two governors and get that propeller up to 2,540? How can this propeller even run at that speed? Well, it can't. And that kind of shows that this report's written by people that don't understand the systems that they're talking about at all. And they didn't bother asking Hartzell because these are dumb questions. These are very dumb questions. I would like to go on to kind of protect Hartzell Propeller. We only have 3 major propeller manufacturers in the United States, with Hartzell, McGully, and Senswich. Nobody knows how to pronounce their name, so don't worry about it. It's just Senswich. Just say Senswich. So we only have these 3 propeller manufacturers in the United States. Now, with Hartzell, what are your customers going to think about you when they realized that a feral, mean-spirited, incompetent government employee just defamed and slandered an airman that lost his life in a plane crash doing everything he could in moments of sheer terror? The plane went inverted on him. Sheer terror, doing the right thing. And you, Hartzell Propeller, saw that the report was falsified and said nothing. Then, when I question you, you come up and you back up the lie. So now you're complicit with it. Now on this 3rd attempt, which is my last attempt to really talk to Hartzell Propeller, you're being asked to do the right thing. Tell the truth. Myself, the family of Captain Jerome Remnant, and the family of those 10 skydivers deserve the truth. We really do. What are your customers going to think when they have a choice between your propeller and another propeller, and they know that the management at Hartzell Propeller will sell them out, let them be defamed, let a lie be told about them, and ruin their lives? Can you imagine the extra grief that was added on to Captain Jerome Rennick's family, his parents, his brother, and his little daughter being told that he was a reckless bad pilot when Hartzell knew it wasn't true? What are those 10 families going to think when for over these last couple of years they've been thinking their family members, their loved ones were killed by a reckless pilot? I don't think I've seen in 30 years. I've only seen 2 or 3 reckless pilots, and believe me, they got out of the game really fast. They did. So no, this wasn't a reckless pilot. What are these people going to think? What is everyone going to think about Hartzell Propellers when this comes out? And believe me, this is coming out. Right now, there is already a request for Beechcraft Textron to review the Hartzell analysis done by the NTSB on how it's possible, how this report is not falsified. I don't think Beechcraft is going to put their neck out on the line for you or for the NTSB. If they did, they're more than welcome to be heaped into the pile of incoming lawsuits that are about to start. That can't be helped. You didn't take right action. There's no stopping that now. So now, I really pray for Hartzell Propeller because the people are good, just like Bud Light. Bud Light, their management forgot their customers, insulted their customers, and now, to this day, that company, Bud Light, is still in massive trouble, and they're still trying to dig themselves out of their hole. I have a flight patch for Bud Light drinkers, and I have an upcoming article on that to help that company get back on its feet, because what happened to it was wrong, just like what's going to happen to Hartzell. The management has forgot who their customer is and sold us out. When that comes out, I don't see how you guys are going to recover from that. And all the innocent people, all the good people that have made a very good propeller that I have depended my life upon and the lives of my passengers upon for 30 years is going to be ruined overnight. So with that being said, let's just be cheerful about some things, I guess. At least this is coming out, and the truth will come out. One good thing about the truth is it's always very simple. It's always straightforward, and it's almost self-evident almost all the time. So the truth on this matter will be coming out, and it's up to you, Hartzell Propellers. Your propellers are built on honor and backed up by deceit and an indifference callous to us pilots. I wish that the management at Hartzell Propeller could step forward and correct the situation. With that being said, I would like to say, may the peace of the Lord be with you guys. I pray for you aviators to have courage and bravery to do the right thing, especially when things are going wrong in that cockpit. I pray for my fellow mechanics that God would guide your hands and give you the vision to see problems coming up that others couldn't. So with that being said, I would like to say God bless. Keep flying, speed. Peace.